evening and welcome to the live stream. This is a very special episode of Toxic Masculinity. It is episode 12. 12.
Wow.
That's embarrassing. No, it's 20. It's episode 20.
Wow.
That's what we call.
It's the 12th good one.
That's what we call pulling a Biden. That should be in the common vernacular at this point. Pulling a Biden, I feel like.
Chris, you're far too old to be pulling a Biden.
I don't understand.
That was a sexual joke.
Okay. Pulling in UK parlance, pulling is not sexual. Pulling is like picking up a girl.
Well,
like you go out and you pick up a girl. Yeah. Stupid joke. Anyway,
if you want to get me off the show before Gorka shows up, I understand.
No, that won't be necessary. That won't be necessary. Do we have any personal news, Jason or Kurt, before we get going? By the way, Sebastian Gorka will join us on the show today. We do have a special guest. He'll join us in a few minutes. But until then, we're going to cover the news. We'll talk about personal issues, and we'll dab our foreheads with a blue handkerchief. Isn't that right, Kurt Franklin?
What are you, a communist? I will dab my forehead with my blue handkerchief.
Okay, so another crappy joke. Jason.
That's why I'm here, guys.
Do you have any personal news? Do you have anything interesting to talk about? Yeah.
So over the weekend, I did something very toxic and manly.
Oh, I like it. What is it?
I changed my car oil all by myself.
Boom! That's right. Take that car. You're gonna run better. I like it. I like it. Well, you know,
I'm telling you. After that, I felt very manly. I felt wow. I did something. I did something with my hands. I did something manly. I did something to take care of that takes care of my family, which is my car. So awesome.
Oh my gosh, you guys, even before the show begins, we have a couple of super chats. Frodo Live says, welcome Sebastian Gorka. I'll have to read that to him when he gets in. $5. Thank you. Oh, I should click on these. Welcome Sebastian Gorka. Well, thank you so much, Frodo Lives. As soon as he gets here, I'll let him know that you said that. And Curtis, KD5AYY, to be honest, our favorite super chatter, if I'm honest. Still thinking about naming the show after him. And he says, hell, I'm still voting for a convicted felon. Oh, no one asked that yet. So are you guys still voting for a convicted felon? I figure Curtis has begged the question. We might as well ask it on the show, right?
I would if I was in the state where it mattered. I'm in Hawaii, and they determined who has won way before they bother counting our measly votes. So I'll probably be just hole up with a shotgun, peering out the window, waiting to see how scared I need to be for the next 4 years.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Well, we'll ask Gorka what this trial means, what he predicts for the future of America, and we'll get his opinion on a lot of stuff. I don't know if you know who Sebastian Gorka is, but he's a relatively smart guy. He knows a lot about this stuff. Go for it, Kurt. What? I mean, Jason.
I was saying we can't vote for George Floyd, so
that convicted felon. Yeah, yeah. That's the funny thing. People keep talking about this George Floyd. We'll get to that with the Marjorie Taylor Greene's comment here in a minute.
But, that was awesome.
It is kind of funny. There's a lot of convicted felons that the left seems to want to let go, and but when it comes to President Trump, they're like, oh, you can't vote for him now. And a lot of people are speculating because, you know, they instantly jumped on this. He's a convicted felon. He's a convicted felon, thinking that it was some guy going to hurt Trump, which, you know, they're looking at the polls saying, oh, it has hurt Trump. It has hurt Trump. I don't know why the polls are saying that. Maybe they're right or something. But I think it was Scott Adams posted, I think, the best tweet about this particular subject. He wrote, where are all these Republicans that are no longer interested in voting for Trump? I want to meet one. Show me one. I'd like to see one. Just in the media, you guys just find one, because I haven't seen them. All I've seen is this, you know, swarm of support for Donald Trump. We haven't seen a single person come out and say on the news media, in interviews, nothing. Say, oh, you know what? We've even got people like Mitt Romney and Mike Pence supporting. It's like, what the hell's going on? We're like in some kind of like Twilight vortex.
I read early that like a person that voted like for Democrats, she gave like $300,000 to Trump, a Democrat.
Holy crap! Yeah. Well, I did a whole video about this, and I said we're all MAGA now, and I read off. If you'd watch my videos, Jason, you would know this. And I read off tweets by people who say they've never voted for Trump before, but they're going to vote for him in 2024 because they cannot stand to see the judicial system. Judicial system is the only word that you can say while sober and sound totally drunk. They cannot stand seeing the judicial system weaponized against political candidates in this way, and it's obvious corruption. It's obvious corruption. They've gone too far with this whole thing. All right, so you guys wanted to do a story because Gorka's going to be a minute here. You guys wanted to do one story before he got here, so shall we do this one?
Yes.
Sure. Let's go.
Okay, so this is, it's not really a news story so much as it's a video on
it
X.
sums up everything perfectly.
It sums up everything perfectly. I mean, hold on, I'm trying to find it here. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's just talking about the Fauci hearing, right? And yeah, she sums up the whole situation beautifully, and she does not hold back. This is, I've just done a video, and we'll talk about it later. I've just done a video saying, Sebastian Gorka eviscerates Kathy Newman. You remember that? We'll talk about that later. But this is Marjorie Taylor Greene eviscerating Tony Fauci. Let's watch this.
In that room? No, absolutely not. I mean, everything I said is correct. It's how the American people feel. It's what we know to be a fact. It's all the evidence has been proven true. We have Jamie Raskin in there accusing us of worshiping Trump, worshiping as a convicted felon. Well, yeah, so is George Floyd. And everybody, and you all too, the media worship George Floyd. Democrats worship George Floyd. There were riots burning down the fucking country over George Floyd. And Raskin's in there saying we worship him. Excuse me, let me correct you. And this is really important. I don't worship, I worship God. God. And Jesus is my savior. I don't worship President Trump. And I'm really sick and tired of the bullshit annex I have to deal with constantly from the Democrats. So that's what we just went through in there. And then they're sitting there, they can attack my character all day long. What's his face in there? Whoever was talking last was calling me insane. But yet we can't say, oh, they're attacking my character. Oh no, it's nonstop annex. You want to know why? The Democrats don't have anything. They're responsible for the lockdowns, forced vaccinations, kids being forced to stay home, people committing suicide, and all the horrors that this country lived through during COVID. Fauci belongs in prison. He should be tried for mass murder, and he should be tried for crimes against humanity. That's how I feel after that hearing. That's how the American people feel.
One day I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to come out of her shell and tell us what she really thinks.
She's a real wallflower.
MTG just demonetized us.
Yeah, there was a little swearing in there.
Anyway, it was going to happen anyway. So
I apologize for the language, folks. I considered downloading the video, editing it, and but I didn't have time this morning. So for me, this is the morning. I know for everybody else, this is the evening. All right, we got a chat here from G.I. Jose. He says, if I was a Mormon, I would make her my second wife. Well, I'll tell you what I found out the other day. I was in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and the Uber driver said that you can have up to I think it was 3 wives. It might have been 5. I can't remember. I was either 3 or 5 wives you're allowed to have in Malaysia legally. But if you move to like Saudi Arabia, I think it might be unlimited. He's like, you can have more wives in different countries depending on which Muslim country you're in. And I was like, well, I'm moving to Malaysia, baby.
Yeah, right. Well, Jason, as the only married man here, could you fathom a reality where you could handle a second wife, let alone an unlimited amount of wives?
Actually, I think I'm going to talk to my wife tonight. See if she wouldn't mind moving to Malaysia or something.
Malaysia.
Honey, you're always saying you have too much to do around the house. Well,
yeah. I don't know if the cost outweighs the benefit of that arrangement.
Well, I mean, let me tell you,
that's what I meant.
If I could find 5 more women like my wife, I might think about it. But she's 1 in a million, so.
Sorry, I meant to say I don't know if the benefit outweighs the cost.
You smooth operator, you had to get that in there, huh?
Yeah, that was very clever. No, I'm
she watches.
I'm making a lot of stupid mistakes today. I assume that this will continue. All right. Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company, $2. He says, "Well, hello, motherfuckers." I gotta say that sort of like in a slurred fashion. Well, thank you very much, Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company. You are appreciated, sir. Yeah, all right. So I don't know. What do you think of that MGT going off there, Jason? I know that was one that you really wanted to.
Imagine if we had like 10 or 20 of her.
I know.
The difference it would be like it would be so amazing. But I hope when Trump wins and they actually let him become president, if they allow him to become president, I don't know what they're gonna do. But like if Trump wins, like I hope these people actually act and not talk. I know now
exactly. There should be consequences for terrible actions.
Yeah, I know right now they have to they really can't do much. They can, but I understand. I know where they're coming from. So, but once Trump comes in, I hope they like act. And I hope please God, let it be a red wave, because I hate saying that wave because it's so stupid. But I hope Republicans have a big win, and moderates too. Like hopefully moderates win too, and we change this. Because she's exactly right. She's absolutely 100% right. I agree with her 100%.
The red wave, blue wave vocabulary is now part of the vernacular, Jason, and unfortunately we are stuck with it. So
Jason can change.
That's I don't mind the red wave, blue wave thing. I'm not really sure why you don't like that, but there are terms and expressions that I hate as well, and unfortunately sometimes you just have to go, well, crap.
I was about to say red takeover, but that sounds communist. Right
yeah. You're gonna get arrested probably. Kurt, what did you think of the MGT?
When you sent me that link and I was watching it and listening to it, I actually got pumped. Like I was ready to like do some bench press or something. So I feel like what we need is like kind of like a dance mix supercut of MTG saying all that stuff, so that we can like just get better gains in the gym. And I think that's what's really going to help the men of this country.
I'll tell you what. You know what I thought when I was watching it? I thought Marjorie Taylor Greene is more masculine than 99% of Democrat men.
Yeah,
that's what I think. At least the white ones.
That says a lot. I want to ask you guys. Now that Trump was now that Trump's a felon, his vice president pick would be interesting now.
Yeah.
What do you think about MTG? What do you think about MTG?
When we're just listening to it back right now, I was thinking like, oh, she would be good to be the vice president. But I don't know if Chris, it's your theory, or people have been saying like Trump doesn't want sort of like a spotlight stealer. He wants
he doesn't want a star.
To be the main event, and he just wants somebody to be like the Ed McMahon to his Johnny Carson. Oh, there's an old reference.
A sensible sidekick. Yeah.
Everybody's gonna hate me. Everybody's gonna hate me right now because they're gonna hate what I'm gonna say right now. But I'm all in for Tulsi Gabbard. Kill me, everybody, kill me. But what she said,
I like Tulsi.
What she said today, after what happened to Trump, what she said today was like pretty good.
What she said, I missed that. We should have put that on the show.
Who's actually from Hawaii, so that'll be a step in the right direction as far as I'm concerned.
I just think she could reach so much more people than if you actually get a Republican. So
yeah. All right. Well, we got one more super chat here. The last prime $5 says, even though he's not in jail yet, I prefer to call him a political prisoner rather than a convicted felon. I agree 100%, sir. We should all start calling him a political prisoner. He calls himself a political prisoner. I agree. All right. Well, let me do a little bit of an introduction here, ladies and gentlemen. I made a video a little while ago. It dropped today. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but we can play a little bit of it now. It's about a gentleman by the name of Sebastian Gorka, and he destroyed, he eviscerated a woman by the name of Cathy Newman. Now, Cathy Newman, if you'll recall, was already owned, obliterated, eviscerated by Jordan Peterson several years ago, and she had the gall to bring Sebastian Gorka, who is, like, I think, one of the most brilliant political analysts in the world today, on her show to talk about the Trump trial, something that he knows about very well, has interviewed some of the most brilliant legal minds on this subject. And somehow she thought that she was going to win a debate against Sebastian Gorka about this issue. Was the Trump trial rigged? Was it legitimate? Whatever. So let me play a little bit from the video that I clipped from her show.
Let me just come in on 2 points you made there. You quoted him saying, if they can do this to me, they can do this to anyone. But he committed a crime. So ordinary people have to hang on a second. Ordinary people have to pay their dues. If you could just let me finish the question. Ordinary people have to pay their dues. So shouldn't he pay his dues as well?
What was the crime? Can you tell me what the crime was?
Well, it's been set out. The payment of the hush money of voting policy. He calls it an NDA.
Tell me what the crime is, Cathy.
Sorry, but we have heard we have heard in court what the trial is.
Tell me what the crime was.
I want you to just respond to my.
This was my favorite moment of this debate.
I love the callback. Don't even go full Jordan Peterson on you, because that's the first thing I thought of when I saw her face. I was just like, oh no, not her.
Exactly. Don't make me go full Jordan Peterson on you. The most brilliant line of that interview. And she was just stumped. And the really interesting thing is,
got PTSD
at the beginning of this interview, he says Democrats cannot articulate the crime that Trump is supposed to have committed. That's how ridiculous this whole thing is. You know, it's a sham. They can't even tell you what the crime is. And then he asked her what the crime is, and she can't say it either. Did she not? Mm-hmm. Did she not even prepare for the interview on national radio? It's insane. But anyway. Look, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you a man that needs no introduction, one of the great political analysts of our day, my good friend, Sebastian Gorka. Mr. Gorka. Oh, I like the cigar.
Well, let's just bump up the toxicity today, shall we?
I love it.
And I have to say, it has nothing to do with the fact that you called me the most sagacious political analyst of the age, but that is one of your best videos.
Well, I wasn't smart enough to use the word sagacious, but I said something like that. What do you got to say, Jace?
You got to tell me. I did talk over her too much, right? That was a little bit too toxic, right?
You know what? That's actually a really good. I should have mentioned that in the video, that you were mansplaining, and that you're a horrible. You're a beast of a man. Jason, right.
I've been giving you crap for every one of these videos that I have to watch because you're my friend. How's my sound? Because I've got a little headset I can put on, but how's my sound?
Well, you sound great to me, but the problem is what I've learned with this app that I use, or this website that I use, it doesn't always sound the same broadcast as it. So you sound great to me. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Jason, what do you got? What are you talking? What do you?
I just want to make have a celebratory glass of wine for a milestone. We have our first big name. Now, Gorka, can you get Trump for us too? Can you get Trump?
I can send the invitation to his personal assistant and put in a good word, but we might have to bump up the viewing figures a little bit.
Well, that's why I'm here, buddy.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, anytime. We need more of this, guys. We need more of this, guys, and we need to find this guy a wife. I mean, come on, seriously. Yes. No more anorexic Russians. Okay, enough with the anorexic Russians.
Yes.
Oh no!
Exactly.
Don't. Oh man, some of the girls in Bali right now are going to be very insulted. All right, Frodo lives. Gave us $5 and he says, "Welcome, Sebastian Gorka." I just wanted to read that out real quick. Hoff Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says Trump Higgins 2024. He thinks that's the ticket to go for.
Is that like Higgins from Magnum PI?
I certainly hope so, because that would be an awesome ticket. All right, listen, I do have a question.
Did you know that guy, Higgy Baby? This blew my mind because I used to watch that as a kid. Do you know that Higgy Baby was from Texas?
No, I thought it was British.
Higgy Baby was a Texan.
I was fooled.
He faked that for 8 seasons. I mean, that's
great. I mean, I do a pretty good British accent, but that I don't think. I think that guy takes a cake there.
Well, Chris does the British accent without even trying. He's sort of like
sometimes by accident. Yeah,
won't believe Chris is from Oregon. They'll think he's actually like British. People will think he's British because he's like, oh, I can fall into this sort of an accent. They'll be like, oh yeah, you're one of us. Great.
Yeah, true that. G.I. Jose jumped in. He says, "Cigar, a man after my own heart." Seabass, my man. Do people call you Seabass?
It's so weird. There's one guy there's my friend's 12-year-old son calls me Seabass, and there's only one other person, Devin Nunes, and he does it live on my show to 3.5 million people. He's on radio and he goes, "Seabass, great to say." I mean, like, what do I do? What do I do? Yes, Mr. Chairman, you can call me Seabass.
And so 12-year-old Devin Nunes and G.I. Jose. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it sounds great.
I'm a big fan of Seabass. And when you have a great moment, if you're in a debate or something like that, if there's a live audience, they can start a chant. Kick their ass, Seabass.
True.
Yeah, that's from Dumb and Dumber. I think that's a reference to Dumb and Dumber. All right, listen, I want to talk to you a little bit about your interview with Kathy Newman. I showed a little clip there, and I posted a video. If you haven't seen the video that I posted, please watch it. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made, just because I love seeing what I would say unethical so-called journalists get wrecked. I think that this sort of propaganda hit job type journalist, to me, is the most despicable, detestable kind of person. And for you to get on her show and destroy her, I think in a sort of an equivalent way. I know you didn't have as much time as Jordan Peterson, but kind of in an equivalent way, you just eviscerated this woman. I mean, I just absolutely loved it. How did you feel about that interview? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first things first, let me compliment you, because you bring, it's like when we do, if you're not familiar, guys, everybody watching, every Friday, Chris, for a huge amount of money, comes on my show for an hour, gets paid nothing, and we review favorite movies from our childhood. And he's a little bit younger than me. So coming up, we recorded it on Thursday, then the verdict fell, so we had to delay it, but next it's going to be Dirty Harry. And we just have a lot of fun, but sometimes he brings this meta level of analysis, just blows me away. There was one moment when he talked about what it means to be a man and how you have to be the ultimate threat. It's the old Jordan Peterson line: the man has to know how to be lethal and dangerous, but your challenge is to control that. And he was talking about it in the context of a movie. And you did it again with this short little analysis of the Kathy Newman debate. And I didn't, because I do this every day. I debate these cretins every day, especially in the British media. And your last point was really, trenchant. You said they know they're lying, and they're actually akin to criminals, because they know what they do is absolutely immoral, and they proceed to, they know what I said about the judge, about when the alleged crime happened, about his daughter. They know everything I said is true, and then they'll just talk over me, change the subject. And I don't even think she did this with Jordan Peterson, so I must be, greater than Jordan Peterson. She shut the interview off. She said, "Okay, I'm out of here. Kill his mic." So
it's not a long video that I made, because it's not as long as I expected it to be, because she cut the interview short. She did not want the masses to hear the truth.
With that one thing that she did, he won the argument right there.
Well, I think he won the argument a long time before that.
That it's their strategy now. Every time I watch a lefty interview a conservative or like Trump or a politician, That's their strategy now. Just interrupt. Don't let them answer the question.
It's like, and this is, I mean, so I do this especially since Thursday. I've been getting up at 1 a.m., 4 a.m. to do all these stupid hits around the world, and you know, I get used to it. I've done it for a long time because my wife crazy. This is when you realize you're overdoing it. For that one, I think she went and slept upstairs in my daughter's room because she said, what are you doing at 4 a.m.? You know, I don't care if it's the Brits. I got to get some sleep. She's now the chairman of the biggest GOP county in Virginia. So I do this for one reason. If I'm not shut up, Eric, stop texting me. All right.
Just put it on vibrate.
No, because it's a Mac, right? So my Mac, I got to hear you guys. So I text the messages on the Mac.
Your phone, Eric. Your phone is just like that interviewer wants to interrupt you all the time.
Exactly. It's Apple. And my philosophy is this, because I did it on with another guy on GB News, a complete loser who worked for Clinton. But if I'm not doing it, who else is going to debate, right? So I want to step up and crush them. And the sad thing is, I don't know if you guys saw my debate with Destiny on the Trigonometry podcast. The other side refuses to debate. They've either got, propaganda whores who are pretending to be journalists who just are, funneling propaganda, or they won't debate you. The only guy who'll debate us is Destiny. And
I know. How messed up is that?
A guy who's famous for what? He's famous for three things: blue hair, right? Reviewing computer games on Twitch, and then debating on the whatever podcast why his open marriage is so successful before she divorced him.
Yeah,
I mean, this is Destiny's claim to fame,
but not just debating and losing consistently.
Right?
He deserves more respect than any other of their political animals because he actually has the balls.
Because he will, right?
He doesn't have the brains necessarily to avoid this situation, but at least he puts himself out there, which is what, for the most part, these other people don't do.
But the funniest thing about that thing, because as soon as I get a request, I send it to Eric, my associate producer, because I'm crap. I can't organize anything. I can't run a calendar, so I just send it, put it on the calendar. I'll get a half an hour, reminder, then I'll do it. And then I realized I get the half an hour reminder. Kathy Newman, I recognize that name. The one that JBP crushed. And so I found that in the back of my head to use as ammunition if I need it.
That I think gave her PTSD, as I was telling the boys. I think that devastated her. I think that was the beginning of the end where she was just like, just soul crushing.
I'm out of here. Right.
Yeah. It's shocking to me that she would have you on, and she didn't really. Look, I'm going to read a couple of super chats here because I think these are pretty good, actually. Joe Walco chimed in and he says, "Fun fact: just hearing Sebastian's voice on the radio increases your testosterone by 15%. Keep up the great work, guys." Well, thank you so much, Joe Walco.
20%. Get it right.
yeah.
But before you know it, I'll probably have another baby soon.
Dame Piglet, one of our regulars, she jumped in with Joe Walker is right. I just grew a beard. Glad to see you, Seb. And Curtis, our favorite donor, donated $100 to the show. Thank you so much, Curtis. And he says, "I love Sebastian Gorka. You guys are just great." And did I tell you guys?
That's four very good cigars. Okay, $100 is 4 excellent cigars.
Yeah.
He says, and I've smoked some of the best cigars in the world at Sebastian Gorka's Man Cave. Fantastic experience. And he says, and did I tell you guys? Hell yes, I'm voting for a convicted felon. Sorry, political prisoner. Thank you, Curtis. You are a gentleman and a scholar. All right, I want to jump in with one other little question here, my friend. I actually have two questions, but let's just jump to this one real quick. Do you think that the Supreme Court will intervene?
Well, technically, look, I'm not an attorney, but technically they can't, right? So
is that right?
Well, technically, the Supreme Court is your last chance for appeal. You must exhaust every instance before that. So you can't go from the local county court to the Supreme Court. You've got to exhaust the appellate court in the state. If they have a Supreme Court in that state, which some states do, you've got to exhaust that as well. And once you've exhausted every level of appeal in a given jurisdiction, a given state, only then are you even allowed to ask the Supreme Court if they will, rule on your decision. So you can't jump straight in. Now, they can have an emergency hearing if you exhausted all the other levels to bring the case to the fore, especially if there's an election or what have you. So right now he's got to wait for the appeal. But let me be very clear here. If we want to get political, they will put him in prison, right? All this, I've had it. I mean, I've had it with these conservatives saying, well, the precedence for this is a fine. Blah, blah. What do you mean precedence? There is no precedence for the leader of the opposition, who just had a rally with 100,000 people in New Jersey, to be a convicted felon. Just stop. I mean, I would have grabbed these putative conservatives by the neck and say, wake the F up, you cretin.
Thank you. A man of my heart. Thank you.
Yes.
Seriously. Look, I can't talk about his name, but a very wealthy guy, multi-billionaire, who came out for President Trump not too long ago, he's kept his politics totally secret for years. And so he's in with everybody, right? He's in with all the lefties, and he's on a board of one of the most powerful foundations in the world, which of course started off as a conservative foundation, like they all do. And then the kids, pervert it, and then in come the libs, and it becomes, transgender, whatever. Yeah. And he's having dinner with his fellow board members in New York recently. And one of them says to him, I hope they kill Trump. One of the board members of one of those powerful foundations in the world. And you're like, And look, it's like, how many conservatives know who Nicholas Ruska is? Ask a conservative, who's Nicholas Ruska? And they go, never heard of him. He's the Californian kid who travels illegally with a Glock, with a bayonet and zip ties from California to my state, to the Commonwealth of Virginia, and gets to what? Kavanaugh's home, the Associate Justice Kavanaugh's home, with a plan to do what? Murder Kavanaugh, his wife, and his children, except for a last-minute, pang of conscience. They have normalized violence.
Yes, yes.
Yep. When Maxine Waters says, you see a member of that Trump Kavanaugh in public, you surround them, you harass them, when you've got the most senior Democrat, Schumer, on the steps of the Supreme Court, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, you will reap the whirlwind. What's that? What's that? Yep. The idea that, he might get a fine. Grow up. Grow up. They want him dead, or they want him in prison, because they know they cannot win this election. He is the ultimate threat to the uni-party, deep state, in your face state, and they need to take him out. Sorry, guys, rant over.
Oh, man.
Well, I believe for a very long time that they're not after him just because they want to hold on to power, although obviously that's important to them. I think that they're after him because a lot of them are compromised and they're worried that they're going to get exposed if he's elected. But let me just present a theory from my brother. Now Gorka's actually met and hung out with one of my brothers, but you don't know my other brother, Nick. Nick has always been severely dyslexic since he was a kid. So he has some very interesting ideas about the world. His brain works a little bit differently, and sometimes his ideas are pretty brilliant. And he texted me the other day, and he says that he believes that they're going to imprison Trump, just like you think they're going to, because he expects that they're going to then try to initiate a false flag, just like January 6th, and they're going to claim that Trump instigated it, and therefore he's ineligible to run for president. That's my brother's theory. I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, I've met John. He does exist. Both of you have hung out and checked out my gun collection, had a few cigars with me, and I actually met the president. So don't bitch and moan about getting the president on your show, because you and John met the president.
I didn't complain. It was Jason.
I know. You know what? I don't know if John did this for you, but do you remember a couple of months ago, maybe 2 months ago, you did a video, and everybody, okay, this guy, I'm going to point at him because he's on my phone right now. This guy, Coles, is crap at self-promotion. All right. I looked on his X account for the announcement for this live stream 2 hours ago, and there wasn't one. So it's like, everybody watching right now, can you just tell 5 of your friends about the Mr. Reagan and Alpha Critic and toxic masculinity? If you don't do that, switch off right now. Leave us. Okay, the 4 of us will have fun. Everybody, all of you watching right now, go and tell just text the link right now, the live link, to 5 of your friends, because Chris is crap at self-promotion. Okay. So,
thank you.
I try. We love it. Except for his Russian anorexic girlfriends, we love this. So you did a video about 2 months ago, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe your brother gave you the idea for this, where you talked about a false flag, that they're going to set up the president with a false flag. This is before the conviction, right? You said that they're going to have some kind of quote-unquote terrorist attack before the election or after the election, and President Trump has to clamp down. Yes, clamp down and then make him look like an authoritarian. And I tell you what, if you don't know my show, don't ring into my show with a conspiracy theory, because I will rip you a new asshole, okay? You know, conspiracy, like QAnon and all that stuff, that hurts our side more than the left.
Yes.
So I don't react well to stuff that looks kind of wacky. And then I watched the video again and I thought, holy moly. Holy moly. The fact that we today can't get an answer from the director of the FBI on the floor of the Congress as to how many FBI assets were undercover on January 6th. He can't answer that question under oath. And you go, huh. And then you see the body cam footage. Please don't take anything I say, for granted. Just check out Dr. G. There's body cam footage I've posted of an MPD cop in civilian clothes on January the 6th, filming a uniformed Capitol Police officer. And the audio, he says, is, yeah, we dress up as Antifa and mix into the crowd. And you're going, excuse me, what? NPD, Metro Police, dresses up as, and why are they dressing up as Antifa and then mingling in the crowd? So that's when you realize, if you want to maintain power, you will do whatever it takes if you're a leftist. Why? Because you've denied the existence of God. Therefore, morality doesn't exist, only power. It's like, you've got to watch the latest video of Newt Gingrich at Hillsdale. It dropped yesterday. It's about 20 minutes long, and it's titled like, "Can we fix the what do we do about the DOJ?"
I think Gorka has frozen. So everybody watch that video, I guess, but not until we're done.
If he's faking it, he's an amazingly talented man. I gotta say that.
Yes, that's amazing. That's
amazing.
Amazing.
Just like, got you. We're like, oh, it would be amazing.
Well, let me remove him off the thing, and then we'll see.
The viewership
if
is going to cradle now because that man is charisma personified. Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
No, he's still going. He's still going.
He's so right though. Like that's what makes Democrats and the lefties so successful. They're like so evil and they don't care anymore. It's
keep talking. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm pretty much done. I was just saying that's what makes them so successful. They're so evil. They don't care. They have no morals. They're all in it now.
They can't be
our side. We put limits to ourselves and that's got to end too. We got to still be moral, but we got to take them on.
That's the limitation of the conservatives is they have morals,
right.
Therefore they fight fair. They fight in a certain way that they can look at themselves in the mirror in the morning. The Democrats don't have that restriction. The leftists don't have that restriction because they think that whatever they do is justified because they don't have that.
They don't have mirrors. They just have paintings that get uglier and older as they get more evil, so that they can stay young and attractive. Sorry, you're back, Sebastian. I don't know what happened.
Let me just finish what Newt quoted, and then I'll hand it back. So when Lincoln came in, Newt said he fired 90% of all federal employees. down to postmasters. Postmasters, right? Why? Because they thought the president is the summer help. Presidents come and go. We're the guys who run the country. We need something of that magnitude because the bureaucracy, I saw it in the NSC. I saw it in the White House. They don't give a flying fig who the president is, especially if it's a Republican and they think they run the country. And it's just, so your video opened my eyes to the enormity of the threat. And the fact is, Donald Trump is a lethal threat to the incumbent bureaucracy, to the deep state, to the in-the-facial state, to the rhinos, to the Democrats. And that's why, look, to quote Larry Elder did this amazing thing. He said, what would you do if you'd been told for 8 years that the president is a Nazi?
Yo.
I would hope if I were living in Germany in the 30s and somebody told me, you know, there's a guy who just took over, that little short Austrian corporal. He's going to kill 60 million people in 6 years, and there's going to be death camps. And if you're a Catholic, he's probably going to kill you too. I, as a cradle Catholic, would think, whoa, and I probably try to do something pretty radical with regards to Hitler. The people I know who are Democrats believe Donald Trump is a Nazi white supremacist bigot. The people who think if you're black, you can clean their toilets, right? The Democrats think President Trump, who married an immigrant, whose cabinet member's first gay cabinet member in history, he's the bigot. But if you believe the propaganda of the last 8 years, all you need is one Nicholas Röske, right?
Yep.
That's all you need.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. I'm going to read a couple super chats, and then we're going to get to Jason's questions. Jason's got a couple questions for you. When Jason found out you were on the show, Sebastian Gorka, I think he peed a little. He was very excited. So he's got some good. He's got some good questions.
This isn't the
Like Joy Reid. When Joy Reid said,
Joy
when he was convicted, Joy Reid said, "I leaked a little."
I know. Yeah, what an annoying woman. Anyway. Alec Dukas jumps in with $5. He says, Sebastian, have you ever done voice acting? That voice is liquid gold, LOL. Also, have any of you guys heard of Yuri Bezmenov? He warned us all in the 80s. Yes, I've done several videos actually on the Yuri Bezmenov interview. And I play it with relative frequency on my show.
Bezmenov is superb. Dan Bongino plays him with regularity, and he told us he worked for the KGB on the Indian subcontinent, and he warned us all. By the way, I've had an agent for 6 years who's a complete oxygen thief, couldn't get me one voice gig. If anybody out there knows an agent who can get me a voice gig, I would love to be the VOG. Okay, so that James Earl Jones is retired, so I'm ready, guys. I'm ready.
I could actually probably set you up. All right, let's see here. Hoff Power Concrete and Semperfied Crawfish Company, one of our favorites here on the show. He says,
I don't have 5 minutes.
You've asked the fans to share this live stream so we get more viewers. Unfortunately, Hot Power Concrete Simplified Crawfish Company does not have 5 friends. I'm kind of right with you there, Hot Power. I have 3 friends, and they're all on the show now.
Yeah, but how many girlfriends? Like 30, right?
Exactly.
Zero. I don't have any. All right, Jason, I know that you were itching to ask Sebastian Gorka a couple of things. Why don't you go for it?
My first question is, by the way, that voice can lead thousands of men to their to battle.
Victory.
So.
To victory. Yeah.
To victory.
You almost said to their death.
I had to watch what I was going to say.
You almost said to their death.
To their salvation.
To their salvation.
That's the good part about being a God-fearing man is that if you are acting right, then you have nothing to fear, right?
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. All right. So my first question is, what will happen if Trump wins? And I'm not saying what Trump will do. What do you think the other side would do?
This is funny. So all this stuff I've been doing for foreign news agencies. What are the classic? Because they even if it's the head of the Swedish news agency, they say. What about if President Trump wins? Or what happens if he loses? Will there be another January 6th? And I'm saying, what, like a riot for 3 hours? as opposed to 4 months of BLM rioting. I mean,
exactly.
My worry isn't if the good guys lose. My worry is if we win. I mean, think about it. There's a reason I'm authorized to carry in DC and Maryland and Virginia. If I'm on the street, I'm packing heat, right? If we think BLM was bad, these people are going to go insane. And the trouble is, I was debating this with one of the smartest guys out there. If you're not familiar with him, Rich Miniter, just an absolute genius, a true investigative journalist, author of some amazing books on how the Clintons lost bin Laden. And we were discussing this over cigars today. The trouble with the left, look, if you're a good guy, you think strategically, you believe in the truth, you do what's right for the nation, and you believe in individual liberty and small government. On the left, what's the organism? It's the Borg from Star Trek. It's the hive mind, right? I hate these people who say, oh, Obama's running everything, or George Soros is running. Bullshit. I mean, sorry, there's no villain in a hollowed out volcano with a white cat, because they don't need one. If you all have the same cult mentality, if you've all been indoctrinated, America bad, white man bad, if you're heterosexual, you're evil. You don't need to have a master puppeteer with a joystick. So what happens if we win, God willing, then there's this spontaneous, organic insanity from Seattle to DC. And it will be, Rich said today, it will make 1968 Paris look like a picnic.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, Curtis is responding here to, when you said that, Trump has to obviously gut Washington, D.C. He really has to cut out the cancer there. And he says, facts, Trump must fire almost everyone that he has authority to on day one. And even the people he doesn't have authority to, Trump figured out a way to get rid of a lot of those people as well last time he was in office. And I think he needs to exercise that authority as well. We call it the administrative state. We call it permanent Washington. Right. There's a lot of ways to describe it, but just those people that are in there, as you said, that they have way too much power, much power, and a lot of them need to go.
Well, I think you like Mr. Reagan. Remember what Mr. Reagan did with the air traffic controllers? He fired them all. He fired their asses, all of them, because they were a threat. They were going on strike, and they were a threat to the safety of the American people. And I've got some sneaky plans. There should be no such thing as a union for a government worker, number one. And number two, if you don't delete it on day one, like the Department of Education, the Department of Ag, move their asses to North Dakota, right? Make them responsible for stapler supply in Alaska. Because guess what? If you move the CIA to Waukesha, if you move, the Department of Agriculture to Minnesota, the people who want to have their foie gras in Georgetown ain't gonna move, okay? They're gonna leave government, and we can actually either not replace them or put real patriots in instead. The executive works for the chief executive. Who's the chief executive? Oh, the guy the people choose for president. So the president theoretically can do whatever he wants with the executive, but it's got to be the first 30 days. And if I have anything to do with it, it will be the first 7 days.
Chris, hold on, Jason. Let me just say this real quick, because you've inspired a question in me, Seb, which I don't think anyone's ever asked you. Because I think you are actually more valuable with your show for this nation than you would be in the new Trump administration. But if Donald Trump were to ask you to serve in the new Trump administration, would you go?
Well, of course, because you have to. It's not just an honor; it's a duty. I mean, he said he wants me back, but it only makes sense if I only know about one thing. Well, two things: like national security and effective communications. Right? Those are my two skill sets. And guns. I know a lot about Dirty Harry's favorite gun. I know a lot about or the Automag. I was impressed, Chris, that you remembered the Automag. It's very impressive.
Of course.
Which one
nice. Okay, I see your AR-15 and I raise you as fast.
Nice.
Yeah. We're gonna. These are our guns here. That's funny, man. I love that. We got a gun off going on. This is really talking masculinity. I love it.
I know. I've got to be ready. Got to get ready for the Dirty Harry episode on making movies great again. So, I talked about this publicly, I think. Well, I will be now. So the only thing is national security. It's interesting what you say about staying outside. I mean, that's why I left the administration in the first place, because I told the president I could be of more service on the outside, and he agreed. But my biggest concern is the following, right? We've got to get rid of the deep state. We've got to slash budgets everywhere. It is obscene how much money is spent for stuff that just doesn't matter. But my biggest concern is personnel. I mean, we literally had traitors inside the cabinet. The chief of staff was a traitor.
Can I just cut in for a second? Chris sold my next question for $100, but my next question was going to be what should Trump do the minute he is reelected? Like what's the first things he should do?
So I actually So I recommended this when I was in the White House, and it never happened. And then what happened afterwards. Mm-hmm. So here's what I've said. We have to use the power the American people give us. Republicans never use the power that is given them.
Yes.
When they're in opposition, in minority, they act like little cucks. And when they're in majority, they act like little cucks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't persecute people. We don't make up crimes like they do, but we bring the hammers of hell down on real criminals. And this is my plan. Within the first 14 days of the administration, we have career prosecutors like the great Kash Patel, who you need to have on your show. And we identify a minimum of 2 criminals in every department of government. And I mean every, from the CIA to the DOD to agriculture to the environment to education. People who we have the goods on, either stole money or persecuted J6s, or like Vindman gave classified information as a serving colonel to the Washington Post. And within the first 14 days, we have them arrested by the US Marshals, put in handcuffs and leg shackles like my colleague Peter Navarro, and we march them out of the building in front of the CNN TV cameras, because we cannot change the deep state. So you got to understand, the US government is 2 million employees. It's the biggest employer in the world, 2 million employees. We have 4,000 presidential appointees, if they are all cleared. You cannot change 2 million people with 4,000 people. Even if every single one of them is Sebastian Gorka, it doesn't work. So what do? You have to put the fear of God into every scumbag who thinks the will of the people is irrelevant, and you have to send a message. The guy we just marched out of here, who stole, who persecuted, is going to lose his pension and will probably end up in prison. Do you want your pension, and do you want to stay out of prison? That's the only way to change a giant culture. Criminals have to be punished. That sends a message to everyone else. That's my plan.
Well, you make that's an amazing plan, by the way. And I believe it's Scott Adams today tweeted something that we've been talking about for years. I've been talking about this for years, which is that, and he recognized this. I don't remember what he was doing, but he recognized this just like yesterday. And the idea is like, leftists don't live in the same world we do. They don't perceive reality in the same way. I just did a video called, the leftist fairy tale cult. They really believe they're the heroes, a lot of them. They really believe that conservatives are evil and racist and homophobic and misogynistic and all the things that they say about us. And they think they're the heroes. They're going to save America, and they're going to make America amazing and, this progressive utopia. And they live in a delusion. They think that cops are killing black guys on the street, just bam, bam, bam. They think that everybody that they believe is oppressed is really oppressed. It's nuts. And so the problem is, if you have people in government who are that way, who perceive reality incorrectly, you're not going to really be able to change their minds, because given the set of facts they believe, they actually have drawn a logical conclusion about how to act. You know, like you said, if they think he's Hitler, they're going to try to kill Hitler, obviously. So you're right. The only way is just to get rid of these people.
It's worse than that. I mean, your thesis is right. The video is correct, that they live in a world that is a denial of the truth. But it's worse than that. And you guys are familiar with What If Altist? Rudyard Lynch, the channel, super channel on YouTube.
No, okay, I'll have to check it out.
He's a 21-year-old guy, autodidact. I think his IQ has got to be about 185. Genius guy, has absorbed every book I've ever heard of, literally by osmosis. I think it touches it to his head and kind of sucks it in. And he did this What If Altist. Subscribe, guys. He did this thing. It's got a crappy title, which is good for clickbait. You know, what's wrong with Karens or something. But the analysis is genius. It's based upon 4 authors 100 years ago, Spengler, who else? Quigley and 2 others. And this is deep. This is. I'm a pretty smart guy, but this hit me like a punch in the gut. 4 authors 100 years ago identified that the greatest threat to Western civilization is the bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. Before the deep state phrase even existed, the bureaucracy, because the bureaucracy takes over control of our societies and wants to maintain control of the society, irrespective of what society wants. And if you look at the case of America, you add FDR to Wilson, and what have we created for the last 70 years? And I tell you this as a guy who sat in the skiff, you know, in the Situation Room with all of these guys, SESs, SISs, who've been in bureaucracy for 30 years, and every single one of them thinks, I know. Yeah. The working American is a cretin. They absolutely despise the people who actually make America run. The guy who comes home from work and has to leave his boots and his overalls outside because they're so dirty. That person is a rube, is a moron, is a cretin, and should never, ever have an influence in the decisions that shape the future of America. FDR starts it, builds a bureaucracy. Wilson comes in from Princeton and says, but we are the philosopher kings. What do you know about economics or international affairs? You're a moron. Get back to the dungeons. Yep. Right?
They really do hate us. They really do hate us.
They hate us. And this is the enemy. Yes, China's a problem. Yes, Putin and ISIS. The real enemy are those who have utter disdain for government of the people. Yes. For the people, by the people. That sentence is the antithesis of Fauci, of Schumer, of McCarthy. It is the antithesis of the power that runs this country.
Yes. Beautifully said. Beautifully said. It's a little bit irritating having you on the show because you're very obviously better than the rest of us at this job.
But anyway, Chris, I will send you an invoice.
Okay. Well, listen. Before you jump in, Jason. Before you jump in, let me just say this real quick. 2 things about what you just said, Seb. The government is a monopoly. The left hates the monopolies. Everybody hates the monopolies because you know they're not challenged. Capitalism only works when there's competition. The government's a monopoly. It's always going to function poorly. And the more sprawling the bureaucracy, the worse it's going to be. And who is for bigger government? The left. Who's for smaller government? The right. Now, let me read this real quick. Frodo Lives, he says...
Because the left is godless, therefore government replaces God and becomes
God. Yeah, absolutely. Frodo Lives writes, great idea, Seb. Move them to the desert or the Badlands. Love that one. Thump Era and Sweaty Fat Guy. Thump the sweaty fat guy writes, okay, Mr. Gorka, you win. We are now and forever Spaz 12 brothers. All hail the Jurassic Park splatter cannon. Folding stock forever.
We have to do a on the road toxic masculinity and have Gorka. We go to like a shooting range or something.
We should. That would be amazing.
50 cal, full auto. I'm your man.
We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. Hot Power Concrete Simplified Crawfish Company comes back and he says, "Don't feed the squirrels equals problem with our country." I don't quite understand what that means, but okay. Occasionally,
it's just about bureaucracy, putting up a sign saying "Do this, don't do that."
Right. Yeah. Probably. That's a good point. All right, Jason, you had a last idea thing that you want to throw in.
So, Gorka, will you be the fourth toxic male on the show now? We can, or we can always get rid of Kurt and have you as a third one.
Ouch!
I think you should just get rid of me. I think you should get rid of me. Gorka should just lead the show.
I thought Kurt is the guy who's really Chris's buddy, and I'm the guy trying to edge in. I don't know who you are, Jason.
True. Yeah.
Actually, I've known Jason since 1998. We met in 1998.
Yeah.
I was on a date the other day, and a girl asked me when I had met you guys, because she was asking what I did for a job. I said I got to do this live stream in the morning with my buddies Jason and Kurt, and she goes, "When did you meet them?" And I had to very shyly say, "Before you were born." But anyway,
but my question's still there.
I love it.
A fourth.
A fourth, yeah. An occasional fourth, let's say that. He's already the fourth. He's always chiming in on the text messages.
Yeah, true. Very true.
All right, Kurt.
He already told us that Trump needs like 20 of him, and he's only got the one. So we cannot, for our own selfish desires and needs, distract him from what he really needs to do. The good work of this country.
The good work. Kurt, you got a couple of questions.
Yes, there were a couple of questions that were better than my questions that I thought of, but I didn't want to interrupt Sebastian Gorka because he's Sebastian Gorka, and I should have been taking notes so I didn't forget my questions. But I will settle on this one while I try to think of the other ones. Okay, I'm not allowed to ask that one. Yes.
You can ask whatever.
I'm going to skip over this other one. This is the best
You sound like Biden. I'm not allowed.
I know. Who's controlling you, Kurt?
What do you think helped the conservative movement more, the Trump presidency or the Biden presidency?
Whoa, that's good.
Bye, Jason.
So there's another great. I just go on these shows to promote other people. So Chris, you're amazing. Keep doing what you do. What If Altist? Everybody has to watch him. The best international podcast is the Trigonometry guys out of the UK, who aren't even conservatives. Well, they are. They just won't admit it. And then my favorite domestic political guy is Andrew Clavin. So great guys. But what? Oh, you said who? Oh yeah. There's another guy called Razor Fist. Razor Fist, superb YouTuber. And he made this comment once on my show, and I think he's absolutely right. Everybody says Donald Trump is the consequence, not the cause. Okay, yeah, thanks. President Trump is what, in reality? What's MAGA? MAGA didn't come out fully formed from Athena's head. MAGA is really the Tea Party movement, right? Mm-hmm. The Tea Party movement comes up and then kind of just dissipates. But it didn't disappear. And President Trump, when he comes down the escalator, he's like the phoenix for the Tea Party movement and revivifies the Tea Party movement. What was more important, his presidency or what Biden did? This is a really philosophical question. I don't know if we're like debating how many angels can dance on the head of the pin. But somebody said this recently, and it really made me stop and think. How much better off are we because they stole the 2020 election? I mean, would you have 100,000 people, mostly black, in a New Jersey MAGA rally? I don't think so, right? Would you have a 10-year-old kid in Harlem shouting, "We love you, Trump"? I don't think so. Would you have, you go on my Twitter feed, how many people have I seen since Thursday who bring the receipt, the screenshot, "I'm a Democrat, always voted Democrat. I'm voting for Trump, and I just donated $100 to the campaign. Here's the screenshot." Do we have that without Biden, without Mullah, without Judge Merchant? I don't think so. I don't think we have the level of the awakening of the beast across party lines if we don't have the Biden. I mean, this is such a kind of, feels perverse to say this, for all the suffering, for the January 6th prisoners, for the 100,000 fentanyl deaths a year. But this is a moment where things have crystallized potentially for tens of millions of Americans. So I think 2024, November 5th, doesn't get set up for success in the way we need to come in with flamethrowers to burn down the corruption if we don't have the last 4 years. Does that sound insane?
No, it's absolutely right. Actually, this has been a talking point.
Good. That was the best question. That was good.
Yeah, this has been a talking point of Kurt's for quite a long time. He has believed that a lot of the bad things that we see, the disappointing things, the things that make us sad, the things that make us angry about the government, about the left, those are the things that are going to help this country the most, because it's waking people up, it's red pilling people. Jason similarly, let me just finish this. Jason similarly says, we're not ever going to be able to get to where we need to be. We're not going to get better until we hit rock bottom, until things really get bad. And I think trying to imprison Donald Trump is about as bad. This is about as low as we could go. We're pretty much hitting rock bottom here. But you see this illustrated perfectly with, who does the left hate more than anyone other than probably Alex Jones? It is the libs of TikTok.
Yes.
And all she does is show videos of the left being the left, right? Mm-hmm. And she is the greatest, red pillar of them all. Yeah. So yeah, the left, all we have to do is just give them rope, as Kurt likes to say. Just give them enough rope and they do our job for us. Kurt, go on. Sorry, man.
Well, we just see examples of this over and over where, they find him guilty and 70 million in funds raised. So the left they're hurt by the fact that they've been preaching to the choir for so long. They only send messaging out to their base. And this is something they always do. They accuse us of doing what they're actually doing. And because they're just sort of like speaking to the converts, they're always going to expose themselves for their hypocrisy, for their malicious sort of intent. And we as the people that, and Biden too, like Biden right now, this is what I tend to do, Sebastian, I apologize, but I follow one stream of thought to another and I ramble. Yeah. But Biden is out there saying like, oh, inflation, what are you guys talking about? All my friends are making money. There's no inflation. This isn't a what do you call it? A recession? A recession? Right. There's no recession. And the American people are going like, look at my wallet. So yeah.
It's like there's that moment, I'm sure you guys recall, after the recent elections in Virginia. What was it? A month ago, 2 months ago? And it's Joy Reid with Rachel Maddow and Jen Psaki. And they're reading the exit polls and, the primaries, right? And Donald Trump in Virginia is just destroying, the record results in a primary. And then the exit polls are asking, why did you vote for President Trump? And the number one issue is immigration. And then Psaki, who lives in Virginia, looks at Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid.
Oh, we lost him again.
Just when he was getting to a good point.
Just when he was getting a good point. Let's see here. I will read one.
Yes, you're back. Oh,
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, we got you.
So Psaki, who lives in Virginia, says, I don't get it. I live in Virginia. Why are they immigration? And then Rachel Maddow goes, well, maybe it's the border with West Virginia. Ha ha ha. Yeah, it's that Marie Antoinette moment. Yeah. What do you mean they don't have bread? Let them eat cake. What do you mean immigration? I live in a gated community with security guards. Right. What do you mean, you plebs? They have there's no interface with reality. It's like Chris said. There's no, when you've never put gas in a car, because you've never driven a car because your security guard is driving. You have no idea what's going in America. But to the point about, it's darkest before the dawn, this is where you have to always be the eternal happy warrior. The great Catholic writer Austin Ruse is a friend of mine. He's just written a book on this topic. You know what's great about today? Sainthoods are just waiting to be plucked off the tree. When they are persecuting you because of your beliefs as a patriot, because your beliefs in truth and Christianity and family, the opportunity to be a hero it's on a silver platter, right? When nobody's coming after you, it's easy to be louche, to sit in front of Netflix all day. But when they're coming after you because you bought a MAGA hat online and the FBI tagged you as a domestic terrorist, dude, that's when you can be a man. That's when you can be extra toxic.
Yeah, I always bring up that point. I always bring up the point. As Christians, we want persecution. Like, if we're able to sacrifice our lives for Christianity, for Christ, like that's the greatest sacrifice that you could ever do. And no,
it's a great point, because I think we tend to look at the persecution as a negative. It's a bad thing. But think about it like this: anytime you see in the news some guy like tackles some kind of like armed terrorist, like those guys in France, or there was a guy in front of the White House a few years ago.
They get a movie
many years ago. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're like, as a man, you're like, oh, why does that never happen to me? Like you want to be in that circumstance.
Yeah, I think as a man,
you hear that noise in the night and you go, oh, let's go. I'm ready.
All right, let me read a few super chats here. Alec Dukas jumped in again. He says, Sebastian, have you ever spoken with Michael Savage?
I haven't spoken with him because I think he's a flipping lunatic.
All right.
Maybe he's got a nice meatball recipe, but I think he's a loony.
This is the guy using a pump shotgun as a prop on our show.
It's not a prop.
This guy must be a real problem. Well, for the context of the show, it's a prop. You can point at the screen, but you're not going to shoot me.
Is this guy a pacifist? Is your friend a pacifist, Chris?
Well, I'm half Japanese, so I got a little.
Wow, you sound like a Democrat, Kurt.
Oh wow! All right,
you cut off the self-deprecating joke, Jason. You will not be forgiven for that. All right, Thumper.
Now you sound like a Democrat.
Thumper, the sweaty fat guy, jumps in. He says, "I'm default censored on YouTube. My comments are all hidden/removed. They don't like YouTube. Does not like anti-communist gearheads. All I do is car videos and deride Marxism." Well, we love you, sweaty fat guy. We think you are awesome, and I highly suggest watching the movie that we're going to review on Tuesday. I guess tomorrow it's going to be out. Dirty Harry, because in that movie, it is the least politically correct film I have ever seen. There's a character that's overweight that's literally called Fatso. It's absolutely fantastic. Everybody should
the Dirty Harry. Gorka, can you believe Chris never watched Dirty Harry?
I think he winds me up. I mean, half of these movies are the most amazing movies in history. We begin the show and he says, "And I've never seen it." I just think he's winding me up.
Listen,
yeah,
I just haven't
shocked.
seen it. I know. I'm shocked myself. What's wrong with this?
This comes back to a point that I did some research for once, Sebastian, if I may call you that, because you're coming on the show.
Yeah.
If I may call you that.
I know that your friends call you Seth. He's got so much gravitas, I'm scared to even talk about him. But
me too. Every week I'm terrified of it.
But anyway, I have the fear that if he doesn't approve of me, Chris will just kick me off the show. But I was doing some research about you, and
here we go. This is dangerous. I've been doing some research about you. This is the Captain Newman moment, right?
In 2012. Oh God, I hope not. I'll just stop talking right now. But,
what did you find, Kurt?
Well, you and Chris are only 9 years apart in age, which I found amusing, because I think of Chris as being the same age as me. He's a little bit older, but
the bastard looks like he's 24.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So I was thinking, like, this is like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where like you can play his dad, but you're literally like 10 years apart. Sean Connery, like, don't take that as an insult. I'm comparing you to Sean Connery, and I'm comparing Chris to Harrison Ford. So neither one of you has any grounds to be upset. But in the spirit of Make America Great Again.
This is the worst question. Kurt got the best question and the worst question.
It's not even the question.
Yeah, Chris, I didn't want to mention it because I went off on Kurt already.
Not question yet. It's just lead in. It's just setup.
I'm gonna cry.
Keep on digging. Keep on digging.
Keep on digging. Well, anyway, what the hell was my question?
That's what we're wondering.
So anyway, Half Power Concrete and Semperfied Crawfish Company jumps in with $10.
Hang on, stop. I need to hear this guy flame himself out. Come on, Kurt.
No, that's what it was. I think that Dirty Harry came out in like 1971.
Yes.
So I mean, yeah, of course I've seen the movie. Jason's seen the movie. Chris hadn't seen the movie. That movie came out when you were 1 year old.
So
it's just like, when did you see Dirty Harry? Because obviously you didn't see it in the theater, or maybe you did.
Have you heard of television?
Yes, but okay, you saw it on television. At what age did you see Dirty Harry for the first time?
I have no idea. When I was 6, 7, I don't know.
Oh, okay, well, that explains a lot.
I'm actually surprised they put that on television. That's a pretty brutal movie.
What? Can you just mute him for a second, Chris? What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Like, yeah, I'm older than him, and yeah, Sean Connery was pissed to play Harrison Ford's father because they're the same age, and he was really angry at the time. So is he trying to make me angry that I'm older than Chris, and the fact that Chris was like 20 years younger than me? What was that all about?
Sebastian,
Chris, I'm so glad we have this very famous person we're bringing on the show that could potentially boost our numbers. Now, how can I best insult him?
Sebastian, you're 6.5 feet tall and heavily armed. If I'm going to insult you, I'm going to do it through this format.
You're going to do it from Hawaii, right?
I don't.
I'm speechless. It's not good for a guy who speaks 3 hours a day live on radio to be speechless, but I'm speechless.
Well,
we had television and we had reruns, and I lived in front of my parents' television.
We've done it on our show.
I always tell Kurt, look, I want you to every episode at least once.
Gorka.
Kurt. What? I literally did not do that. I swear to God. I don't know.
I did that.
Oh, there he is. He's back. I did that. All right, let's bring him back in. All right.
Chris's loyal lapdog decided he would, in fact, boot me.
No, I didn't do anything.
Because
I didn't do anything.
The great
what are you talking
about?
Gorka. That's a low blow. That is a low blow. Okay, now you're getting muted. No.
Oh, wow.
No, it's funny because I actually tell Kurt that every episode I want one good laugh.
One good insult for your guest.
Between the three of us. And we finally got it.
As well. Did you call Daisy ugly as well?
Yeah, we were like maybe trying makeup. What the hell?
No, Gorka, thank God he wasn't with us on with Daisy.
Yes. Yeah, he was gone that day. That's true. All right, I do want to read the super chat because it's been lingering for ages. He says, Obama, this is Half Power Concrete Simplified Crawfish Company. He says, Obama is the best thing that ever happened to this president. Obama is the best thing that ever happened. His presidency exposed how corrupt Democrats are. He sowed division out in the open. Use commas and periods, man. This is tough. He sowed division out in the. He sowed division out in the open. The country has just become more and more divided since his presidency. Yeah. Well, very, very true. Very, very true, and appropriate to our conversation as well. This guy writes. Oh no, this is. I know who this is. She writes. This is Seb Gorka, super manly voice, gives $2. And she writes, any idea who Trump's VP will be? Oh, I happen to know that this is an appropriate question for Seb, but I don't think he's going to give you an answer.
Super manly, but very old, right?
Yeah, that's gonna linger for a while, I think.
I've been told by the person in question who the VP will be. It's somebody nobody's talking about. He's a great guy. However, knowing the president, that could change. I like what Lee Zeldin said recently Don't talk about the Veep picks. We need to win this. Okay, let's just win it, win it, win it. The president will choose who he's going to choose. My druther is, look, I worked in the White House. I ran into Mike Pence every day. The VP is an utter irrelevance. The VP is the guy who goes to the funerals the president doesn't want to go to. I would like to have a vice president who actually is given a mission and a portfolio. I'd like a vice president who's told, okay, you fix the CIA or you get DEI out of the military. That would be cool. So pick somebody who's fit for that kind of mission would be my suggestion.
I was going to say, how about if he asks? How about if he asks you for it to be?
I can't be. I wasn't born. I wasn't born in America.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know this, but that answer was absolutely genius. Kurt, you got another question?
Well, I was just thinking, like, theoretically, no, I lost it. Sorry. Go on. I'll come back to it.
If you have an iPhone, right? If you have an iPhone, there's a thing on it called Notes. You can make notes while you're talking.
Actually,
I don't know what's going on with Kurt today.
I had camera issues, so I'm doing this on my iPhone. So
yeah, he's doing it on his phone. Yeah, he's doing the show on his phone. All right. Well,
there's a thing called
Sebastian,
paper and a thing called pens. Pens.
Yes,
you can like write.
I'm surprised at your age you know what an iPhone is. I guess they keep you updated, your staff.
This guy, if I ever meet him, it's going to be a knuckle sandwich.
Hey. All right, Jace, why don't we get on to a couple of the stories we got?
I'm only 5'8". They tell you never punch down.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't worry, I'll crouch.
Okay.
The thing?
Yeah. So we have an post breaking. Attorney General Merrick Garland has classified at the highest level the audio tapes of Biden's embarrassingly incoherent interview with special counsel over 2 days, and has locked the tapes away in a sensitive compartmented information facility, or SCIF. Very interesting.
It's supposed to be compartmentalized. Maybe it's compartmented. I don't know.
Compartmented is what
yeah, it's a SCIF. They call it a SCIF. Yeah, this is pretty crazy. Like, we all know what's on the tapes, right? Because there's a transcript of them. But they don't want Biden's voice.
They don't want it to be in Trump's campaign ads.
Yeah, because he's just going to sound like a doddering old man, exactly like what Her said. You know, he doesn't want to prosecute Trump because he sounds like a doddering old man, and he doesn't think he's competent, intellectually competent to stand trial.
But shouldn't that worry Democrat voters?
What I sound like a minute ago.
But
I don't know. What do you think?
Shouldn't that worry Democrat voters that they don't want to let those tapes out? That they're going to make it a top secret, classify as top secret.
Voters don't even know there was a special counsel called Her.
Yeah, true.
Exactly right.
Yep.
That's such a good point. Do you think we're going to be able to get those tapes before the election?
No. Unless there's one good guy left at the DOJ who leaks it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. A leak could be possible.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a leak. But it only seems leaks only come out when Trump is president.
Correct.
Hoffpower Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says there's a character count on Super Chats. I can't afford $10 for commas in Biden's economy.
Touche.
That's good.
Fantastic. I absolutely love it. I love it.
Well done.
All right, let's go on to the next story, Jason.
I'd love to hear Gorka's point on this one. Jury selection to begin for historic Hunter Biden gun trial. If they believe in law and no one's above the law, let's see what this.
Yeah, this is crazy. So Hunter Biden is finally being held to account for his gun, whatever violation, whatever filing. This is the dumbest thing for him to be going to court for. There are so many bigger crimes that he's guilty of, and he's going to court for this one. This actually annoys the hell out of me. But they're doing it because they want to say, "Oh, look, we're totally fair and balanced. We're going after, Hunter in the same way we're going after Donald Trump." My view is that he's going to get off scot-free. I mean, this is obviously what's going to happen. I don't believe there's going to be anything like justice here, but yeah, I'm curious what Sebastian Gorka has to say about it.
Well, it's on my Twitter feed. You can read. Somebody posted all the details about, who the jurors are, not their names, but what their background is, and yada yada yada. Look, this is happening in Delaware. Delaware is owned by the Biden family, right? The idea that anything happens in Delaware that hasn't been cleared with the Bidens, no. The guy will probably get fined $200. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think so too. What do we think, Kurt?
Yeah, it's interesting because in the media you see them referring to Trump as like it's a big deal. Like this is the first instance of an ex-president being convicted of a crime and a felony and all this sort of stuff. And you see it framed kind of the same way with Hunter, where they're like, oh, it's the first instance of the son of a
sitting president.
Yeah, sitting president, and it's just like. It's interesting because I think that it's not going to work out well for them because you're going to see the juxtaposition of what's going on because, like you guys were saying, he's going to get off, and they convicted Trump, and the crimes that Hunter Biden actually did are legitimate, and the crimes that they're going after Trump for are illegitimate. So I don't really see why this is a smart play for them. I think it might be a case of two different aims colliding because it doesn't make any sense when you look at the two of them together.
Yeah, but they never frame Trump's the Trump case as illegitimate. They never frame it that way. They always frame Trump as like, pure evil. And so they're trying to say, look, we went after Hunter Biden's boo-boo, his little mistake with drugs and everything like that, and we're going after Trump's really evil stuff where he's mischaracterized and accounting.
But it's not on brand for them to say, like,
in his
look,
books.
We're fair. Look, there is no.
Yes, it is.
Like,
they always do that. They always do that. They always
all.
pretend that they're good. They're the good guys. They always pretend they're the good guys. All right. Ed Dans jumps in with a super chat. He writes, how do we fix these radical universities that are breeding radical, intolerant leftists? That is an excellent question because that is really a lot at the core of what the problem is here. You get, I don't really understand why anyone votes leftist, but a lot of it has to do with the universities. And, young people are very subject to trends. If their friends are saying one thing, they'll just jump on board because they want to be part of the group. It's very difficult for somebody 18, 19, 20 to stand up for themselves and stand up against the crowd. So how do you do that at a university where they're teaching this crap to guys? I don't know.
Take my tax dollars out. Take my tax dollars.
Take my tax dollars out of it. Seb, you got any ideas about that?
Yeah, I the 1 week of his new presidency, I had the new head of heritage on my show who I didn't know, so I wanted to put him on the spot on this issue because he's a fourth generation educator, and Kevin Roberts actually ran a Catholic college in Texas, and he shocked me at the end of the interview. I said, so it's great what's happening at school boards and the mama bears, but what about higher ed? What are we going to do about higher ed and all the drones? Can we fix it? Live on air, the new president of the Heritage Foundation said, no, we can't. Burn it all down to the ground. It's like, oh, okay. So look, it's like that thing I said about fixing the deep state. You can't change a. It's like Gaza. Let me make an analogy to Gaza. People always say, well, we have to have a ceasefire and then we'll have this agreement with the Gazans. 78% of Gazans agree with October the 7th, okay? When the majority of the population thinks killing babies is cool, you can't have an agreement. You can't fix that, right? So my answer is, number one, pull their non-profit status. Stanford has $47 billion. Why are they not for profit? I mean, these are real estate investment companies that give out certificates that are pretend diplomas. They're hedge funds. That's all they are. My son went to Stanford and survived 4 years at Stanford as a conservative. When Governor Stanford created Stanford, it was meant to provide free education to every student, not charge you 70 grand and then sit on $47 billion. So strip them of nonprofit status, strip them of federal funding, and then we need like 100 Hillsdales. We need like 100 Liberty U's.
Yes.
We've got to build it. You can't fix it. I went to Harvard. I had a 2-year fellowship. After a year, I popped smoke and left there because it was so woke. Yes, I'm an old bastard. I went there in 1997. Let me tell you a story about how people think, oh, Obama started all this. I was a fellow at Harvard in 98. My daughter was a year and a half old, and my son had literally just been born at Brigham and Women's. Okay, so I have a newborn, a wife who's at home recovering from C-section, and an 18-month-old. And I get on the student email a notice. I'm a fellow. I'm taking classes, but I'm a fellow in public policy. And I get this notice. Welcome, new fellow. You are invited to the Kennedy School of Harvard University's Gay and Lesbian Club next Tuesday.
Wow.
I wrote back a polite but very terse email. I am a happy married man. Thank you for your invitation. I will not be attending. That's what I wrote. Okay. Next day, I was called on the carpet by the dean of the Kennedy School at Harvard for my bigoted email. 1998.
Wow.
Okay. You cannot salvage them. If you went to these schools, don't give them a stinking penny. Tell them what you think about them and fund another Hillsdale.
You've told me that story before. I absolutely love that story. You're 100% right. It does kind of need to all be dismantled. And Jason and I have this conversation quite a bit about Hollywood. We have this idea that we need to basically just let it die and build a new Hollywood somewhere else. Maybe it's not a centralized thing. I don't know. But we need to build a conservative version of Hollywood that is actually making excellent projects.
Don't get me started on this. You need to get Andrew Klavan. Andrew Klavan is the expert on this. He talks about 20 years ago, the Old Heritage Foundation invited him to give a speech. You can watch the video at their big annual fundraiser with the heavy hitter donors. And 20 years ago, Klavan was a darling of Hollywood. He wrote scripts that Clint Eastwood made. Okay.
Yep.
And Klavan says 20 years ago, we can't fix Hollywood. They've gone left. We have to build an alternative, patriotic, unwoke thing. And the whole audience just looked at him saying, huh? What?
Yeah. Republicans, conservatives don't care about fiction.
They don't care. They don't get it. I mean, look at the Daily Wire. I mean, God bless Drew, but what is the Daily Wire? The Daily Wire is 700,000 subscriptions behind a paywall to hardcore conservatives. You're not going to move the Overton window a nanometer. You're not changing anything. With a paywall for conservatives are already on your side. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
We need to make movies. We need to make TV shows.
I keep telling you, Chris. I keep telling you, and people are craving for that. If you see like today, most of the
hold on. The way you say I keep telling you indicates that I disagree. Okay,
no.
That's an annoying mischaracterization. Don't listen to him, people. I have been pushing
fake
for this
news.
as much as he
fake
has.
News.
Fake news.
Gorga, I keep telling him to come back to the States and let's get this Hollywood.
Hollywood going. Chris, can you just mute your own mic for a second? What? All right, Kurt, I will let you speak now. Jason, you are allowed to speak. What the hell is this guy running from? Why is he running across the globe chasing anorexic women? Can you help me out? Just what is he doing? Just but what is he doing?
I have no idea. Like, I keep telling him, you need to come back here to the States. We need to get this going.
We just create this beautiful thing every Friday, and then he moves to a different Airbnb every Monday. What's he doing? What's he running for? What's he running for?
He likes the exotic tropical locales, and Hawaii is entrenched Democrat run, and it's way too expensive. So he has to
I originally went to Europe. Listen, here's what happened. I was in a relationship for several years, and the woman didn't like traveling. She didn't like to travel. We would travel. Okay, we went to Chicago, into DC. We went to Florida. Like this. But she didn't like traveling internationally. She didn't like traveling for like a long time. She liked kind of being home and having her hairdresser and having her, having her nails done and all that kind of stuff. So, once we split up, I was like, finally I get to travel. I love traveling. And then I found Bali, and I love it here. So look, it's not.
But you're an American, and we have to save America, right?
Yes.
I'm still working on it. Listen, Michael Williams.
You know what I tell him all the time.
The part where Sebastian told you to unmute your mic. I think you took that up on yourself. Yeah,
exactly. You know what the problem is? I keep telling
this
Chris,
is my show.
No, it's our show.
And
it's our show.
Toxic, and we're going to mansplain to you.
Yes. Well, I keep telling Chris, like, his problem is when he finds a girl that he really likes, don't waste time. Impregnate her. Pop out babies, and then your world will change, and you'll think differently, and you'll finally settle in.
Seriously, you need to be a father yesterday, okay? Yes. You'll be a great father, just like John. Marry a woman who's got some meat on the bone and get busy, and come back home.
I feel like I'm on the school bus in 6th grade getting bullied again. All right, Michael Williams jumps in and he says, Sebastian, this is a great question. Sebastian, would you like to help Trump develop an American academy?
No, because America will cease to exist. The academy can be, 5 years from now. We got to take down the CIA and the FBI and the deep state.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you. And I started teaching in college in 1994, and I did it until I joined the Trump administration. I was teaching the Marines. I think 94 to 2016, I've done my time in academia. Done my time. Mm-hmm. But thank you.
Logan Darklighter gives us $20, and he says, Biden being a red pill catalyst. HBO John Adams, King George after Olive Branch, prepare to die or be jailed as traitors. KG Ben Franklin, God bless King George. Yeah. Without him, we would never be so united. Yeah.
That's good.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I absolutely love that super chat. Thank you very much, Logan Darklighter, who is, I believe, a fictional character in the Star Wars universe. Hoffpower Concrete and Semperfied Crawfish Company comes back and he says, I've been trying to super chat for 10 minutes. You won't let me say what I want, even with zero profanity. Well, that's not
say it. Come on, Hoffpower. Do it.
Yeah, say it. Michael Williams gives us $5. He says, I spoke to Luc Besson's free film school. I can help the conservative film industry. Well, Michael Williams, email me. Let's talk, my friend. And I'm not joking. My email is, or you can private message me on Twitter, X. Hot Power Concrete, Superfied and Superfied Crawfish Company, $5 again. And he says, come to Louisiana, Chris, on one of these Creole women will take you off the market. Well, that's almost what happened to Jason. Actually, he got a nice girl from the Dominican Republic.
Chris, who was it that was complaining? Can we save Chris, gentlemen? What do you think?
Okay. I hope so. I hope so.
That's not very reassuring, Jason.
Chris, for the sake of the nation, come on.
I love how we're talking about
get a woman pregnant. Will you just save America by finding a woman who's got some hips and get her pregnant?
Yes.
No, we're saying the deep state is irredeemable. Academia is irredeemable. Hollywood is irredeemable. Is Chris Coles irredeemable?
That will be our next video on Mr. Reagan.
Who was it that was complaining all the time to you about how you always talk about your girlfriends and about things like that? You don't talk enough about.
I'm trying to avoid.
But I agree. I agree with Gorka.
I give him crap all the time, and I'm bigger than him, so tough.
No, I agree with Gorka. He needs to get over that whole Russian girl, skinny girl thing, and come with me to Dominican Republic. I'll find you a great woman, a great wife that'll raise your family. And okay,
I only get a nice large Polynesian lady. Come on, dude.
I only click with the Russians. I don't know
according to Chris,
Ukrainians.
I don't think so, Chris. You click with the Russians.
I do.
All right. So Jason, what's our next story? What do we got left?
So this is a good point. It goes to Gorka's earlier point.
Is it about Russian women?
I'm glad I'm not the only one that gives Chris some hell on that. All right, so he says this is a reference to conservatives and Republicans, and I believe so they won't spy on Trump.
This is a tweet, by the way. This is a tweet by Travis for Trump. Yeah.
They won't spy on Trump. They did. They won't impeach Trump. They did twice. They won't push for mail-in voting and beat him in the middle of the night after he broke the record for most votes ever. They did. They won't sue him to take away the billion-dollar businesses he built just to try and destroy him. They did. They won't find him guilty. That would just be too much injustice and clearly political. They did. They won't pass a bill to take away his Secret Service protection. They're trying. They won't throw a presidential candidate and former president in jail. They will. They don't have a limit to what they'll do because no one is stopping them or calling them in it.
On it.
Why is it on it? Why isn't the media calling out this blatantly tyrannical behavior? Not only them, but like the Republicans should be on this and at least try to do something.
I will take issue with.
I
will take issue with the fact that he writes
on your show that you realize how truly painful it is to hear Jason read something.
Trying to read it at the best of my abilities because.
Listen, I will take a little bit of issue with the fact that he writes, "I won't spy on Trump," or "They won't spy on Trump." I don't think he shouldn't have written in like future tense like that. Like, I don't think anybody ever promised they wouldn't spy on Trump. It was more like they denied ever doing it. They did. They the impeachment thing. I don't think anybody ever said they're not going to impeach Trump. There's a few things I disagree with on this, but the essential point is correct, which is that they always say it's never going to be as bad as the Republicans say it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Oh, Democrats aren't that bad. We're not crazy. We would never do this. We would never do that. They always do the things that they say they'll never do. It'll never get that bad.
They're always pushing. They're always trying to see what they can get away with. We saw that during COVID. That was a test. That was a sociological experiment.
Right,
to see,
right. When they said
do
you remember 2 weeks to do? 2 weeks to stop the
flatten the curve. What was it?
Flatten the curve was the term. Yeah, flatten the curve.
The thing is, they can do it because there's no repercussion. They don't pay for this.
That's exactly.
Biden stole the last election, so why wouldn't they do it again?
All right, Seb, you got any comments on this guy's take?
I just, it kind of reminds me of what my buddy and mentor Dennis Prager says, and he's so right on it. Whatever the left accuses you of doing, they're already doing themselves, right? Sure. I mean, who really colluded with Russia? I mean, is there any greater collusion with Russia than Hillary Clinton asked an MI6 agent to repackage Russian disinformation from a guy who is an actual SVR asset at the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C., and then we're the Russian colluders. Whatever they say we are doing, they are already. It's like, we've got to save democracy from the dictator. There'll be a police state. You mean like putting the leader of the opposition in prison? That kind of police state, like shackling my buddy Peter Navarro at Reagan Airport and putting him in Hinckley's cell at the FBI. You mean that kind of police state? Or you mean like spying illegally on 250,000 Americans because they bought MAGA hats? You mean that kind of police state? It's like it's Bizarro world. It's Bizarro world.
Yeah.
It is Bizarro world. And they're going after Alex Jones.
I was speaking with my wife the other night, and I was telling her, it's funny because after the election in 2016, it's like I fell asleep and woke up in this alternate universe. It's just it's crazy.
It's like I moved to America. I chose America, and I moved here with my family in 2018, and I became only in America can a foreign national, green card holder, become a DoD civilian. And I was a professor of irregular warfare at National Defense University. And in my classroom, I had literally every hue of the planet: Hispanic, Black, South Asian, you name it. And I'm sorry, I don't think I'm naive. I think I'm a pretty smart guy. I didn't see a racism problem in America in 2018. I just didn't see it, right? It did not exist, not in my classroom, not outside on the street. And then along comes Obama, the beer summit, Cambridge, Mass, and these people who called us the white supremacists, they generated racism.
Yeah. By the way, Chris will be back. He's having some computer difficulties, so he'll be back as soon as possible. We can move on to the next story.
Since I have the opportunity, could I just ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sebastian, a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that a lot of the problems that we're dealing with in this country is the scope and the size of government.
Yes.
And the power that they have. Like, what we need, I think, is to limit the power of government. Like, the government is a beast. It just keeps growing and growing and growing, and more funding, more taxes. And I think that what we really need to do is try to scale that back, because the more power government that's
but not scale back. I mean, it has to be swinging. So, I worked in the DoD for 5.5 years, then 2 years for the Marine Corps, and then in the White House for the president. So I know that the national security, what's the DC garbage word? The enterprise, the national security enterprise. I know it quite well. And my wife was a presidential appointee at the Department of Homeland Security. And one day we were driving into an event in DC not too long ago. We just looked at each other with our insider knowledge, and we said, if we win again, how much could we slash the budget by and still be safe as a nation? And we just did so in our head, and we looked at each other and said, what do you think? 50%. I mean, we could halve the intelligence and national security budget and be as safe as we were before we halved it. I think it's Mike Waltz, the Green Beret. Last month, there was this incredible hearing. Did you see this hearing in Congress where he held up a bag of washers? Did you see this? So he's got like a Boeing executive, and he says, you charge the government for these washers. Do you know how much you charge? And it's this bag of washers, like a pint bag. And they're not made of titanium or unobtainium. They're not made of, diamonds. It's like steel washers. And of course, the vice president of Boeing has no idea. And Mike goes, $100,000. And you're like, excuse me? $100,000 for a bag of washers. I mean, everybody involved in that transaction, from the paper pusher at Boeing, should be in prison for 20 years.
Yes.
That's, the corruption includes everything from spying on Catholics at Latin Mass at Virginia Beach to charging us, the American taxpayer, $100,000 for a bag of washers. All of it. We have to get rid of it.
Chris, we can't hear you. Your volume is done.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's finally mute. Now we can talk about his
We can only see the pretty face and no voice.
And now we can talk about his relationships and
hang on. Let me text him. You're frozen.
Now Chris knows who his real friends are. We're just laughing at Chris, and Sebastian is like, I'm gonna let him know what's going on.
See, this is, if he lived in a real country that wasn't steam powered, he wouldn't be like freezing on us the whole time.
Well, while he figures that out, let's move to the next.
I figured it out.
We're
good to go. It was a button on my thing when the computer shut off.
Chris,
power went out.
It's always Chris, a button on this thing.
You're worrying me, making me scared. I have to take over and host the show, man. I'm new at this. Come on.
Look. There is a known phenomenon. Neutrinos in the universe will sometimes shoot through your processor, and it just kills your computer. This is a known thing.
If you live in America, it wouldn't be happening. You never had that.
No, okay, fine. Yeah, no, true. Listen. It is disappointing how much corruption there is in DC, but what's also disappointing? As I was jumping back on,
you going to sell us something now? Is this the time for a gold advert?
Yeah. Right? I just noticed in the comments section. We're going to break that down in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. No,
I've wanted to do this on my show, but it's much more embarrassing to do it on your show. Will you stop saying, and now I have to sell you some overpriced crap, okay? Because nobody is going to buy anything, okay? Now
I always say that.
The best merch known to man. I mean, just try it. Just one.
I always say that about my Mr. Reagan merch. I'm always like, go to my Teespring site and buy all my overpriced crap. And, occasionally people I think it's funny.
Once it's the first time, it's funny. But when you're a subscriber to your show and you watch every one of your videos 100 times later, it's kind of not funny anymore. I mean, you're an actor. Do you know this?
I'll come up with something new. But as I was jumping back on, I noticed in the comments section, it wasn't a super chat. It was just some snarky person that watches my show. Yeah, they said, I think the show's better without a host.
No comment.
That's a little disappointing. Hot Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company comes back again, and he writes, no, it literally says, message not sent. Please edit and try again. That's so messed up. 72 versions. I think this is the best super chat of the night. He writes, Seb Gorka is a DILF. Okay, I'll take your word for it. 72 versions. All right, Jason, do we have another story real quick?
Yes. This is from the Federalist. Guilty. Trump verdict will keep good people from running for office. And I've always said that. Like this is their goal. They want to keep
but it's not just that. It's not just that. So I want to use this platform to talk about great people. So the Federalist, if you're not following Sean Davis, shame on you. Sean M. Dav on Twitter, one of the smartest, ballsiest guys out there. He's the co-founder of the Federalist. But Chris Plant is a good buddy of mine. He has the morning radio show here in DC. He's been saying this for about 10 years. And this is one of my third biggest concern for after November, if the good guys win, God willing. He says it's not about running for office. He says one of the greatest successes for the left in the last 30 years is to make sure that decent, patriotic Americans would never work in a Republican or especially a Trump administration. And he's absolutely right. I mean, look, when I was in the White House, I have no problem when they come after me because, yes, I'm a surrogate for the president. But when they came after my wife, and when one guy who wrote 52 hit pieces on me in 3 months wrote an article about my 18-year-old high school age son with his name, and the headline said, Sebastian Gorka's son, traitor. You go, why would you put yourself through this? There's only two reasons. You love the country, you'll do anything for it, or you're nuts, right? Mm-hmm. Why would you do that? And this is pure Alinsky, right? It's target, triangulate, isolate, destroy. It's Alinsky.
Yeah. 100%. 100% it is. Yeah, it's very sad.
So Chris, are you ready to be my press secretary if I go back in?
100%, 1,000%. Because you're not a very good communicator, Seb, so you need somebody.
They might not understand my accent, Chris.
That's on the topic of whether you going back into the fray and working directly for the president. It's like that's really the thing that he needs. You mentioned before, like, well, my specialties, my areas of expertise are this and that, and not necessarily these other things. But what someone really needs in that situation, we're basically at war. What you need is people you can trust.
Yeah.
Intelligent
100%.
people, brave people that you can trust. And if you don't know the ins and outs of the exact issue, hey, take out your smartphone and do a little research. But what you really need is people.
Let me tell you another story. So we were 4 days into the administration. So my wife and I had been on the Trump transition team. So there's this weird thing that when you have the last two candidates before an election, the federal government actually funds offices, GSA offices, and you have official transition teams. So these are the people who prepare cabinet members and prepare to take over the government if their candidate wins. And so my wife and I were in the transition team. She was on the DHS team. I was on the national security team. So I spent months working with General Flynn, right? I mean, just the three of us, he, his son, and myself, doping up, what will the NSC look like if we come in? What are the priorities? Which allies go first? Blah, 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 blah. But then literally 8 days before the inauguration, Steve Bannon, who knew me because I'd worked for him, I was his national security editor at Breitbart, he kind of reaches down and says, I'm chief strategist to the president. You're not working for Mike, you're working for me. So I ended up in this thing called the Strategic Initiatives Group as deputy assistant to the president for strategy. But Mike was a friend of mine, or rather a superior. We were colleagues. And because of my background, he put me on the national security team, the National Security Council distro. So I was in the meetings at NSC, in the SCIF, in the sit room. 4 days in, the phone book for the National Security Council leaks to the Washington Post. So the National Security Council is hundreds of people who come from across government and are just stationed there for 2 years. But the two top people, the senior director and the director, are political appointees. And some of these names are sensitive, right? Because you've got a director for intelligence. You've got a director for covert operations. So it may be a phone book, but you don't need the world to know who the head of covert operations in the NSC is. 4 days in, before Mike, as national security advisor, had signed off the stinking phone book, the Washington Post had it.
Oh.
And I went to Mike and I said, Mike, I don't work for you. I work for Steve, but out of respect, you got to grip this now. You can't have the classified NSC phone book at the Washington Post before you've signed it. I suggest to you humbly, get every polygrapher from the DOJ. Just tell Sessions, send them all to the EEOB, and I'll sit in as well. You can do it to me as well. Polygraph all 420 people in the building until you find the people who fail, and again, arrest them and frog march them off the North Lawn in front of the cameras. Do you know? And I love Mike, and no man has suffered more than he, except for President Trump and Peter Navarro. Mike said to me, "Great idea, Seb, but we can't rock the boat." 3 days later, he was out thanks to Mike Pence. Right? This is the enormity of the challenge. What you said about loyalty, Jason, and it's not blind loyalty. I told Flynn, there's 420 guys in the NSC. We need like maybe 200. I mean, that's an obscene number. I mean, Eisenhower had 25 people in his NSC, okay? And he had the Suez Canal. So I think he did okay. I just send them all back to the CIA and to the DOD. Bring in 100 people from the campaign who are stuffing envelopes, knocking on doors, don't know the difference between Sunni and Shia. I'll train them. Give me 6 months and I'll train them. They'll make a few mistakes, but guess what? They won't dine you out and they won't rat you out. Again, I wasn't listened to. We can't afford to do that again.
No, it's an absolutely.
Trump's an outsider, and instead of getting entrenched politicians looking to make careers, kind of like in Untouchables, don't want a rotten apple, don't go to the barrel, get them off the tree.
Right.
These people that are working
Giuseppe Petri. We need Giuseppe Petri.
That are passionate, that are like, these college students, things that aren't even getting paid. They just want to be part of the cause and put them in those positions. Yeah.
You guys, Jason, you make such a great point. Gorka obviously backs it up with real stories, things that have actually happened. Kurt, I appreciate your addition there, and and gentlemen, if this makes so much sense. More than anything, Trump needs loyalty. Trump needs people he can trust, and I guess what that ends up meaning is that
you have to make a video.
I know, I mean that too, but I think Mr. Reagan, Jason, and Kurt are all going to be working for the Trump administration next year. Okay, Jason, do we have another story real quick? It's already 9. We should close it out. Why don't we do the Idaho bar story, because this is a really good one.
Yeah.
Idaho bar offers free beer for heterosexual awesomeness month.
I didn't read the story. I just read the headline, if I'm honest. I just love this idea so much. I just wanted to announce it to the crowd and get Seb's reaction. What do you think of this? It's pretty good.
I love it. I love it. I was thinking yesterday, I just posted a photograph of myself and I said, I'm Sebastian Gorka. I'm a heterosexual. The only flag I'm proud of is the American flag. I'm voting for a convicted felon. How about you? That was my Sunday post. And it goes nicely with the video I played on my show today of the FBI agents at the Gay Pride Parade in an FBI t-shirt that is rainbow colored, okay, with their loaded guns on their belts uncovered. I had Mike Van Meter, former FBI guy on my show, and he said, hang on a second, you can't walk around with your gun out unless you're busting down, Al-Qaeda safe houses in New Jersey. You can't walk around as an FBI agent with your gun out, let alone a rainbow-colored FBI T-shirt. Could you imagine if me as a Catholic went to a Catholic parade in New York as an FBI agent with my gun out? You know what happened to me? I mean, this is where we are.
100%. I wrote underneath somebody tweeted that out, and I wrote underneath something like, "Oh, Patriot Front is at it again." But I'm glad you're still having Mike Van Meter on the show. I introduced you to him, and he's a real patriot. I think former FBI agent, but a real stand-up guy. Like I think many of the regular agents at the bureau and the older agents. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the FBI. They've gone crazy. We've got one more super chat right here. This is again from Seb Gorka's super manly voice. And they've written, Seb, does Donald Trump have a plan if he gets blocked from the ballot or is otherwise stopped, or they otherwise stop him? I hate to see it, but I can't help but be concerned. Pretty good question, actually.
Yeah, they can't block him from the ballot. That's been dealt with. Supreme Court dealt with it. They've been slapped down. That's not the problem. The problem is putting him in prison or worse, and beyond that, stealing it. And I'm not talking about Dominion machines or anything else. I'm talking about old school stuff, right? I mean, think about this. We are the most advanced nation in the world. No other nation has gone to the moon, let alone put their flag on it 6 times. We put the American flag not once, 6 times on the moon, but we joke about Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, and Atlanta stealing elections. I mean, think about that. America jokes about dead people voting in Chicago and has done since 1960 when Joe Kennedy bought the election for JFK with the dead votes of every Democrat in those cities. Of course, they steal elections. They've been stealing them since the 60s. So we need to stop them. Number one, got to vote early. I know we want to put our ballot in the thing or whatever. You don't know if you're going to break a leg, get a flat, vote early and get everybody else to vote. And also do what my wife did. You've heard this story 100 times, Chris, but Jason and Kurt may not have. So my wife hates politics because she's sane. Okay, I've been trying for 10 years to say, look, you're much nicer than me. You've got low blood pressure. People love you. You should run for office. For 10 years, she said, are you nuts? Politics is disgusting. Okay, so what happened? 3 years ago, she came to me and said, I'm running for the local community center board. I said, what do you mean? You mean you're asking my permission because you've read St. Paul's, letter to the Ephesians about, husbands and wives, and said, oh, no. I don't need your advice. I've got the 100 signatures and I'm running. I said, what do you mean? You hate politics? Yeah, but they had a drag queen story hour for little children, and that's not happening 2 miles from my house. She runs, she loses in an election that's usually settled by 400 votes, but she lost by 1,200 mail-in ballots. Oh, isn't that interesting? And then I thought, well, she's got it out of her system. She'll go back to doing what she does. No, she recruits 2 other Christian women. They run the next year. All 3 of them win. Okay. Then she says, this stealing of elections thing, this is a problem. So she becomes an election volunteer. Starts by handing out ballots on election day. Then she says, that's not enough. Then she becomes a poll watcher. As of today, she is the chief election officer for our district in Virginia. And last month, because she hates politics, she became the chair of the Republican Party for the biggest county in Northern Virginia. So when people come to me and say, are we going to win? Are they going to keep him off the ballots? Are they going to steal it? I just throw it straight back in their face. And I say, what are you doing about it? If my wife, who I only see in bed nowadays because she's, training people, stopping the steal. If my wife, who hates politics, can do it, get off your ass, get out of your foreign country you're hiding in, and fix America.
And I should also say, your wife did this before Trump was found, quote unquote, guilty on 34. Essentially fraudulent felony charges. So
Right.
she was in there before.
It was the drag queen story hour 4 years ago.
Everybody has a line that they will not tolerate being crossed. Everybody has a hill they'll die on, and I love that your wife's doing that. I would also like to say your wife has an amazing podcast.
Yes,
which I
thank
think
you.
Promote here on the show right now.
The Happy Women Podcast, top 10 new podcasts with my Salem colleague, Jennifer Horn. And you don't have to be a member of the fairest sex to listen, and it will recharge your batteries. They are warrior princesses. I think they're on episode 8 or 9, Happy Women Podcast. And as Sun Tzu taught us, you can't defeat the enemy unless you know them. And because in her retirement, this is her 4th job, my wife has just published her new book with Mike Gonzalez, Next Gen Marxism. Okay, it is the story of what they've done for the last 80 years, why we have people on university campuses saying down with America from the river to the sea. Next Gen Marxism, Katie's new book as well. Thank you, Chris. That's
Love
gallant of you.
Buy the book, check out the podcast. Frodo Lives wants to point out that she's a woman. And thank you for that clarification. You got Frodo in the title. How am I supposed to know that? But now we know. Now we know. And Ed Dans jumps in, and this is probably the most controversial super chat of the evening. But we'll close on this. He says the Second Amendment and we the people are Plan B. We don't talk about that on this show because we're afraid of the YouTube overlords. But I think that this guy.
Well, look, let's be very clear. The Second Amendment isn't about whitetails.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, precisely. All right.
Any they mess with the Second Amendment, that's my breaking point.
That's the line that you will not allow them to cross. Listen, we cannot thank you enough for joining our tiny little show, Sebastian Gorka. You were with us for 2 hours. Incredible. Thank you so much. Everybody, if you're not listening to his radio show on Salem Radio Network, or if you're not checking out his videos on Rumble, you're really missing out. Seriously, the best political show in the universe, really truly is, and hopefully we'll see you back in the White House.
Reviews aren't bad either.
At our show, we have a show every Friday, Make Movies Great Again, and it was delayed, so it's going to be on Tuesday this week. But to check that out on Rumble or on Salem Radio Network. So thank you so much, and I guess we're just going to close out the show. Jason, do you have any last words?
No, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was great.
My pleasure.
Kurt, what do we got?
No, I just second what Jason said. I've wasted enough of Sebastian Gorka's precious time with my nonsense. Thanks.
One message, and I'm really serious to everybody out there. It's like that story about Benjamin Franklin and that old woman who asked him, "What do we have, sir?" And she said, "A republic if you can keep it."
Yep.
It's up to us. President Trump is one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. But he's only one man, and he too only has 24 hours in a day. So guess what? If you're worried, do something about it. And this may hurt, but I mean this with all sincerity. If you're not actually politically, look, I love this stuff. And whenever you guys come on my phone, I watch you, I give you crap I text you, and we have lots of fun. And Chris, keep doing what you do. We want you back here in America. But the key thing we must remember is if you're not politically engaged, if you're not doing things to save America, working a phone bank, knocking on doors, writing, my wife's team wrote 18,000 postcards for the last primary to Catholics. 18,000, okay?
Wow.
If you're not doing something, I mean, I love listening to talk radio, I love podcasts, but you got to get engaged, because if you're not, and if this pisses you off, everybody watching, good, I hope it does. If you're not actively engaged, you're working for Joe Biden.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's really that simple. That's the math, okay? So guys, if not you, who? If not now, when? Get engaged. It's our republic. They stole it from us. They stole it from us with every penny from George Soros for the local school boards. Why is a billionaire who broke the Bank of England funding local prosecutors like Alvin Bragg? Because as Tocqueville showed us, America is in the local community. It's cool to be the president. Don't get me wrong, as an immigrant, walking around the White House is like, what? I still get shivers when I think about it. But where is America? America is at the county and municipal level. The local county commissioner, the local school board has more power than you can imagine. That's how we see America. And I will get off my pedestal.
Well, Frodo Lives says that she is, yes, she will poll watch, which we very much appreciate. Half Power Concrete and Simplified Crawfish Company says, great show, man. And Curtis with another $100. Gentlemen, he says, I just wanted to say it was a real honor to listen to the four of you. Well, thank you. It was a real honor to get all these super chats and your brilliant comments, ladies and gentlemen. You know, that is a great message to end with. Everybody should be involved. The left is notorious for having a better ground game than we do. We have to create a true MAGA army, and we have to win in November. Well, that is it for us today. We will see you again on Thursday. It will not be this good, but hopefully it'll be, you know, decent.
Get Katie on the show.
Maybe I'll get Katie on the show. Oh, that would be amazing. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much. That is not so. Good night.